7, solving absolute value inequalities. We remember from absolute values. Absolute values have a positive and a negative. It was either or. When an inequality contains an absolute value expression, it can be written as a compound inequality. The absolute value inequality, or absolute value is less than 5, means negative 5 is less than x is less than 5. You don't have to write all this down. Here, I'll give you, this is what it means. If you have absolute values less than 5, you just need to look at the numbers part, really. Absolute value is less than 5. It becomes a and statement. Less than is an and statement. So we just tack the negative on the left-hand side. Here, let me show you real quick. I like this problem better to start off with. So I'll go back to the other one. Absolute value of x minus 1 is less than or equal to 2. When we had a basic equation, actually let me add a slide in here to go back to a basic equation, just to refresh your memory. Absolute value of x equals 5. To refresh your memory, absolute value of x was 5, or x was negative 5. When we said absolute value of x minus 5 equals 7, we said x equals x minus 5 equals 7, x minus 5 equals negative 7. We set it up as two different problems. We added 5, x equals 12. Added 5, x equals negative 2. We got two answers. These are for equations. Going for an inequality, if it is a less than, it is an and statement. Oops, lost my pen. Less than means and. The nice thing is, all I need to do is tack on this piece. Negative 2 less than or equal to x minus 1 less than or equal to 2. Instead of breaking it into two separate problems, I just tack on a back end piece. Remember how we solved ands and ors early on in the chapter? What do we need to do to solve this problem? Add 1 to everything. So I add 1 here, add 1 here, add 1 here. What's negative 2 plus 1? Negative 1 less than or equal to x, less than or equal to 3. So my answer is negative 1 is less than or equal to x, less than or equal to 3. On a number line, negative 1, 3. Open or closed? Closed. Open or closed? There I go. They connect. Just to check, give me a number in between negative 1 and 3. Give me the best number in between the two. 0. What's 0 minus 1? 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Negative 1, absolute value is 1 less than 2. So I know I'm correct. Here's this one. I wanted to go back to this one because it's a little bit different. What's different from this one compared to the last one? Okay, the -3 is not in the absolute value. Before I start throwing things around, before I get rid of the absolute value, I have to move the -3. So I need to add 3, add 3. Once I add 3, I have the absolute value of x is less than 2. Once I have the absolute value less than 2, now I can break it into two pieces. Since it is a less than problem, it is called an and statement. And since it's an and statement, I can just tack on the negative on the back end. -2 less than x is less than 2. There's nothing to solve in this problem. To graph it, -2, 2, open, open, connect. All right. Everyone keeps asking, what if it's greater than? What if it's greater than? What if it's greater than? If the absolute value of x is greater than, now it becomes an or statement. And that's what you guys kept saying. If it's greater than, it is an or statement. So I have absolute value of x plus 14 is greater than or equal to 19. So by looking at this, I see that I have a greater than symbol. By seeing that it's a greater than, this automatically means it's an or. So the first thing I need to do, subtract 14, subtract 14. Absolute value of x greater than or equal to 5. Once I have absolute value, symbol, number. Once I have it, so it's absolute value, symbol, number, now I can split it. Because it's an or statement, the original one stays the same, or x is less than or equal to the flip. And that's your answer. It is always the first one stays the same, or the flip of the negative of the second one. What do I need to do first? Subtract 3. What do I get when I subtract 3? Greater than 2. What type of statement is this? And or an or? This is an or statement. When I get an or statement, what does it break up into? What's my first one? X plus 2 greater than 2, or x plus 2 is less than -2. The only time you can just tack on a -2 onto the end is an and statement. And you have to flip this because it's an or statement. What do I need to do over here? I need to subtract 2, subtract 2. X is greater than, what's 2 minus 2? 0. Or, over here I need to subtract 2, subtract 2. X is less than, what's a -2 and a -2? -4. Graphing it. Now this is where you need to be careful. Which one's smaller? -4 or 0? -4. So this one's a 0. It's less than -4 and it's open. And it's open at 0 and it's greater. There's your graph. X plus, absolute value of x plus 2.5 plus 1/2 is greater than or equal to 4. The first thing I need to do is subtract 1/2. So I have x plus 2 1/2 greater than or equal to. Now, I don't care if by hand, calculator, whatever. But just think, well, it's 3.5. All right, 3.5 as an improper fraction, 7/2. I didn't need to do anything with a calculator. I didn't need to go and write anything down. That's just mental math. If I had to use the calculator, 4 minus, now if I think, what does 1/2 mean as a decimal? Minus 0.5. Math, enter, enter, 7/2. Now I split it up into two problems. What type of problem is it? Why isn't it an or? It's a greater than, it is an or. X plus 2.5 is greater than or equal to 7/2, or x plus 2.5 less than or equal to -7/2. What do I have to do? Subtract 2.5. X greater than or equal to, fine. I'll use the calculator. 7/2 minus, ooh, I can't write 2.5 in a calculator. So I gotta think. I can't write 2.5 in here. I can't write 2 1/2 in here. Now, if I do, I have to go in parentheses 2 plus 1/2. That's how you have to write a mixed number. But you got to be careful. It has to be in parentheses 2 plus 1/2. That's too much writing for me. The way I usually do it, if I have to write a mixed number, is I just go 2.5. Calculator's smart. It can mix fractions and decimals. 7/2 minus 2.5, enter, is 1. Wow. Now I need 2 over here. Now don't just automatically assume it's going to be -1. That's the number one mistake. People just think the other one has to be -1. Minus 2.5 on this one, minus 2.5 on this one. X is less than or equal to -7/2 minus 2.5, -6. So it's x is greater than or equal to 1, or x is less than or equal to -6. Was this problem overly difficult? Did it look bad? Don't lie. It looked difficult. It looked bad. But if you use the calculator to sort of help you out where you have troubles, it eases your pain. Now to graph this, which one's my smaller number? -6. My bigger number's 1. It's less than -6. It's bigger than 1. There I go.